Hello and welcome to Automation in Testing Daily Lockdown Questions. For the rest of the UK lockdown due to coronavirus, I said I would answer your questions at least one a day for the rest of lockdown. How long that is? Who knows? But this is video number 2. So today's question came via the Ministry of Testing Club. Club is a great online forum all about testing if you're not familiar with it. But sticking to the question, this question came from Sunny. And Sunny asks, how do you calculate ROI of your automation? Is there any metrics? Now, if I was good at video editing right now, I would go, ROI, question that comes up all the time and it drives me mad. It drives me so mad that I've already covered it on Twitter. Don't measure ROI on automation. Don't measure ROI on automation. Don't measure ROI on automation. Keep saying it. Look, the reason why I say this is, as an industry, we've gone down the line of having automation over here and testing over here. But most of the time we're talking about test automation and testing as I call it, but the use of automation to support testing. So if that's the case, the ROI that you want to measure should be on testing, not on automation. But the reason why we have it and we talk about it is because a lot of the industry and especially a lot of the tool vendors used it as marketing to convince companies to buy their automation tools with the promise that it will significantly save money on the testing that was over here. But we can't have these separate things. We have to have one, so therefore we have testing, and I would say, what's your ROI on testing? But that doesn't really help the question, and it's kind of a way of getting out of answering the question, but I don't want to do that. I want to answer the question. However, what you can do is you can think about if automation's actually helping you. So, given where we are in the software development lifecycle, the progression we've made over the last 10 years, if not more, it is now probably sensible to have some level of automation in your testing approach, if not huge amounts of it. But either way, you can find lots of videos from me about this, but it's always focused on testing, but automation can help. So here's a few things that you could look at that aren't necessarily ROI, but are things that you can measure, potentially metrics, let's say, that could help you know if automation's hindering you or helping you. So the first one we have there is the mean time to release. Now what I mean by this is how long is it taking for basically a feature to be released? Now obviously this isn't just down to testing, this is the whole process, but usually there's some period of time, there's some effort, there's activities. You could still be at a company where there's a phase, but either way, testing takes place. So how long is that testing taking? Automation might mean that it can be done quite quickly. It could be a small change, all the automated checks passed, there was no need to write any new ones, that's quite quick. However, it could also be the case that actually we had to write some more automation. We noticed some of the stuff needed refactoring, so we did that at the same time. 10 of the checks failed, so I had to fix them. You see what I mean? That would take longer. So in that instance, yes, the automation may have slowed you down, but that might be 1 in 10, where the other 9 instances of running that automation was really quick. But anyway, it's worth looking at your mean time to release to start to see if automation is providing value. But never do any of this measurements on their own, let's just say that. Me and Mark Winteringham have started talking between ourselves about what we call automation health. So how healthy is your automation? Are you getting a lot of false positives? And by this I mean a check that fails, but when you look into it, it's actually just noise. It's perhaps the framework failed, perhaps something went out of date, perhaps the data was misaligned. It's not really telling you that the system has issues. It's the actual framework slowing you down. The kind of thing that a human would just, look at it and go, oh, that doesn't mean that, and change. But obviously the computer can't do that. We talk about automation as being stupid. It can only do what it's been told. I talk about it as need educating. So you told it A, but A ain't true anymore, so it doesn't know that. It can't possibly know that things have changed. It needs re-educating, and that takes time. And on that note, time to debug. How long is it taking for an automated check to fail for you to find the cause, fix it, address it, utilize that information, do whatever is needed until you're happy with it? So it could be a case of fixing the broken check, or it could be even more that you've debugged it, you've found it's a root cause of it's actually a genuine bug, you've logged it with the team and it's getting fixed, or you're fixing it yourself, who knows. But yeah, the time to debug is really important. If your framework's overly complicated and this is taking a long time, that ain't good. Have a look at that. And that ties nicely into execution speed. How is your speed looking? Like, oh God, I can't look at graphs anymore because of this pandemic that's going on. But is your automation steadily increasing over time? So if that is, obviously, at what point are you no longer happy with that length of time waiting for that feedback? Obviously, you know you're going to get good feedback, but how long is it taking? Do you need to invest there to maybe have a look at some more parallelization or move some of these checks potentially to other layers in the system that might be quicker to execute, a bit more targeted? And as we said there as well, the create and maintain maintenance speed. So how long is it taking you to create checks? Have you made it overcomplicated? Perhaps you have a gherkin layer above your actual, test code, and then you've got page objects, and then you've got this layer and that layer, and all that stuff takes time. So have a revisit every now and again and look at your approach. Perhaps you've gone down the keyword-driven route. Is that benefiting anyone? Are the other people who can't write code utilizing those? If not, why are you doing it? Refactor it, make it easier and quicker for you to create these checks, which usually results in it being quicker to maintain them. And then really important one at the bottom, like me and Mark and a lot of the industry talk about automation as extending you, making it possible for you to do things you couldn't do, giving you powers that you would never have. So have a look at that. Have you found some really useful information recently that's enabled the team, or potentially found some bugs, that you wouldn't have been able to find without having this automation in place? Perhaps it was a suite of automated checks that the tool let you get in at a certain seam. Perhaps you took advantage of a piece of software like DevTools or a proxy or something like that that helped you look at the application in a different way that you wouldn't be able to do with automation. So these are some of the things that we can measure, some of the things we can look at, some of the things we can use as heuristics. But please don't measure ROI in automation. For me personally, it doesn't make sense. If you want to measure ROI, measure it on testing. But even then, that's too narrow now. Have a look at a wider team. How long does it take the team to go from idea to production, getting information, getting feedback, getting real live information from your customers? How long does that take? And which period of that can you influence? And in that period, or in that space, how can automation make it easier for you? Or how is your current automation perhaps hindering you? That's what we need to be looking at. That's what I prefer to look at when it comes to talking about if automation is helping, if the money and time being spent is worthwhile. I like to look at those things. What I don't want to do is what most of the industry do. It used to take 4 testers, 10 days to run 1,000 test cases. Now those test cases can all be ran in 2 minutes using tool A. Great, but it took 30 days for them to write all those in tool A. And it takes 2 days a week to maintain them all, to keep that 10-minute execution or whatever it is. That math doesn't make sense. It was marketing terminology to get people to buy tools. It doesn't work that way. It's about now looking at what you do, look at your testing approach, look at the information you need to gather, and being intelligent about the tool use and software use to help you gather that testing information. That's the key to really solid, reliable automation. On that note, thank you for the question, Sunny. I hope that's helpful to you. If you want your question answered, please post them on the club, or you can reply on whichever platform you're watching this on, and I will add them to my club myself. And we'll keep a catalogue of them all there. All right, cheers. Thanks for watching. Bye.